You're watching the legal breakdown. So we are at day 1 of Donald Trump's first criminal trial. In New York, we're going to have 2 legal breakdown episodes. Today, the first is to discuss a major update on the prospect of Trump being jailed for violating his gag order. That's right now. And the next episode, today, is going to cover some major news on the rest of day 1, including some surprise jury updates. So for the viewers, if you want to follow along with that episode and more, please subscribe, because we'll be doing exhaustive coverage of this entire trial. The link is right here on the screen, or you can just hit the subscribe button down below, and of course, you can also find the link to Glenn's channel in the post description of this video too. So Glenn Judge Marchand is now considering holding Trump in contempt for violating his gag order, and we've covered those violations. Prior to this, clearly Donald Trump didn't anticipate this. Walk us through what contempt hearings would look like. Yeah, Brian, it's really hard to believe that Donald Trump will not end up in a jail cell for contempt if Judge Marchand applies the law to him the way it would be applied to anybody else. So here's what's going on. Judge Marchand has put a gag order in place, prohibiting Donald Trump from talking about, among other things, the witnesses and the judge's own family members. And of course, Donald Trump has violated that gag order, that prohibition, several times over in the run-up to the trial. So here's what happened today. The prosecutor said, "Judge, we want you to issue a show cause hearing. We've talked about those previously, to have Donald Trump convince you that he didn't violate the gag order, and/or he should not be punished if he did so. The only quibble I have right now with the way Judge Marchand is handling this issue is," he said, "it a week and a half down the road. That's a problem, because does that give Donald Trump another week and a half to violate the gag order before he is ever made to heel, before he is ever compelled, required to actually obey the law, the way any of us would have to obey the law?" So as of right now, I believe they're going to take this up on Thursday. I think it's the 23rd, yes, and they will decide, 1, whether Donald Trump violated the gag order. Spoiler alert, he did, and then too far. More importantly, what is the punishment? What is the sanction now under New York law? There are 2 possible sanctions. 1 is a money fine. The problem here is the New York state law provides only for up to $1,000 for each violation of a court order. So what will that mean to Donald Trump? It will mean exactly nothing. Far more importantly, each violation of a court order, each violation of the gag order, can subject the person to up to 30 days in jail. So what I suspect Judge Marchand will do is say, "Okay, you violated the gag order, let's just say 5 times. I think the prosecution presently said, at least as of this morning's court session, we see at least 3 violations of the gag order. So judgment could impose a $1,000 fine for each violation of the gag order, but far more importantly, he will have available, as a lawful sanction, under New York state law, the ability to put him in jail for up to 30 days, for each violation. Will it come to that? I have to believe, knowing who Donald Trump is, knowing his inability to control himself, knowing his recklessness, he could very well find himself in a New York jail cell during the pendency of this trial. Glenn, do you think we'll see some type of hybrid approach, where maybe Judge Marchand imposes the fine, which is basically tantamount to nothing, but will serve as a warning, and then say, if we see another violation, then I will avail myself of the opportunity to throw you in jail? Yeah, absolutely. It's like you've been in court before, Brian, because that's exactly what judges do. They do it incrementally. The first violation, they will ordinarily say, "I'm giving you a warning." The second violation, they will say, "You'll fine $1,000, and let me put you on notice, Defendant Trump, if you violate again after this money fine has been imposed, you will be put in a jail cell. Do you understand?" And Donald Trump will, mumble that he understands, kind of like he mumbled through some of his answers today in court. So judges love to do it incrementally. They like to give a defendant enough rope to sort of, I hate to use the phrase hang himself, but because appellate courts like to see that kind of incremental approach, where you're giving a defendant every opportunity to comply with a court order, and if a defendant just steadfastly continues to violate court orders, that is when they can find themselves in a jail cell. Glenn, just real quick, on the fact that this is still that, we still have a week before this hearing is actually going to be held, to determine whether or not Trump will be held in contempt. Is that kind of judgment on handing Trump more rope to, again, to use that phrase, to hang himself, with by allowing him to commit more of these violations, which would only further hurt him. When this hearing actually does happen, there's actually a specific reason that I think Judge Marchand put this off for a week, or a little over a week now. The New York law, I think it's called Judiciary Law, Section 751, says if the contempt happens in the presence of the judge, in other words, if Donald Trump were to do something in court, that would constitute a violation of not just the gag order, but of any court order, then the judge can summarily hold the person in court, fine them and even order them into a jail cell. But that's only if the contempt happens in the judge's presence. This didn't, even in this day and age you could say, well, everything you post online kind of happens in everybody's presence. The law is often very slow to catch up to the realities of the internet age. So the New York state law says, if it doesn't happen in the court or in the judge's presence, then there has to be notice, and there has to be an opportunity for the defendant to present a defense. I think what Judgment on decided is, listen, court is up and running Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. He could have tried to squeeze it in this Wednesday, but then the defense attorneys might have said, listen, the law says we have, we get noticed in an opportunity to defend, and we can't be ready this Wednesday. So ultimately, Judge Marchand first set it for next Wednesday, a week and 2 days down the road. But then, the prosecutor said, actually, Judge, can we do Thursday morning at 9:30, instead of on that Wednesday? And here's why they said that. I know, I've been in this situation. They've probably packed a bunch of witnesses in for witness prep on each Wednesday, as the trial progresses, so they were probably counting on the judicial schedule, as previously announced by Judge Marchand, giving them Wednesdays off. So 9:30 Thursday morning, a week from this coming Thursday, we will see what the hearing involves, and importantly, we will see what sanction Judge Marchand chooses to impose. 2 quick questions on that. How long will that hearing last, and how quickly will it take for Judge Marchand to impose his decision? So, criminal contempt hearings are kind of a rare bird. They don't happen every day, so I'm going to give you my best estimate, that it will probably be a hearing that will take about an hour. It won't involve anything more than the prosecution offering Donald Trump's posts or statements that he made that violated the gag order, and the defense trying to come up with some, explanation as to why. Well, if it was a post, it wasn't really Donald Trump posting it, and how many of us are going to believe that? Or if he was caught saying it at a rally, for example, or on one of the faux news station interviews, it's going to speak for itself. So I think the hearing can probably be accomplished in about an hour or so. I have a feeling it will be a decision that is rendered the minute the hearing concludes, so it will probably be contemporaneous with the hearing itself, unless there is actually some evidence that's been presented either by the prosecutors or the defense that the judge has to mull over, or he might have to go back and read up on some case law precedent, if a legal issue is raised and contested by the parties. But I have a feeling it will be, he will rule, either from the bench at the end of the hearing itself, or maybe later in the day, or at the latest, maybe the following day. All of this is my sort of best guess, knowing how judges ordinarily operate. Okay, no, on the gag order itself, the violations seem pretty cut and dry, like he was told not to attack witnesses, and he posted right there in true social attacking Michael Cohen, for example, who is a principal witness in this case. Is there any reason why Judge Marchand would opt not to side with the Manhattan to hear? No, it really does undermine the rule of law, and the confidence that the people have in the integrity of the proceedings. So I cannot envision Judgment Marchand reading those posts that we all saw. We saw him attack Michael Cohen, a known witness, attack Stormy Daniels, a known witness. So I have to believe Judge Marchand will absolutely say, that's a violation of the gag order, and really the only thing left is, what is the appropriate sanction? And there has to be a sanction, because if there's no sanction, what are you doing? You are emboldening Donald Trump to, engage in even more reckless rhetoric, and posts and speeches. All of it is endangering